Hey there, good evening. Nice to see you. It's time for the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters and writers and editors, journalists, all different people who put stuff out about important issues in the city and in the Bronx. And we're going to do that in just a moment. And in our second segment, a very exciting Latin photo show that is going to be in a number of places throughout the Bronx. So we're going to do that next. But right now, let's say a good evening to Steve Nessen, who covers transportation for Gothamist NYC, WNYC. Nice to see you again, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
Steve, congestion pricing is the biggest thing, or maybe not because it's out of the way for the moment. Um, let's go back in time. You wrote a piece saying that the New York Transit chief warned that congestion pricing and having a pause in congestion pricing could lead to subway failures. I think that was somewhat premonition of you because we're now seeing tales that they could be in real trouble.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, a fairly incredible turn of events, really, that the governor suddenly, unbeknownst to almost everyone involved in this process that's taken years and years to put together, over 4 years of work, thousands of pages of documents and studies and research, at the final hour, the 11th hour, the tolling machines were already installed and, doing their trial runs. They were ready to flip the switch. And the governor just pulled the rug out from under the MTA and really the state of New York, announcing suddenly that she's not going to go forward with congestion pricing. And now the MTA is scrambling to figure out, well, what does this mean? Not just for all the projects that they wanted to do to, with the money from congestion pricing, but also what about the day-to-day operations? Like you were just saying, the subways could fail. They're not saying it's going to happen overnight or in the next year, but a lot of that money that was going to be used to upgrade the system isn't there anymore. And what's left is, what they already have, which is just barely enough to keep the system running in what they call a state of good repair.
So the some of the analysis that came out right away was that this congestion pricing was going to hurt the Democrats at the polls. And so then Hakeem Jeffries knocked on the door of the governor and said, Madam Governor, we need some help because if we lose more congressional seats, the whole country will be affected. Do you put stock in that? Do you think that's part of what went in here or a lot of what went in here?
Yeah, exactly. We have our reporter in Albany who says, like, essentially, that's the common knowledge. That's what everyone believes. And in fact, at a press conference right after the governor's announcement, a reporter, questioned the governor about her rationale, which she said was to help Midtown businesses, to, encourage New Jersey drivers to go to diners in Midtown. And the reporter asked, how stupid do you think New Yorkers are? Which was
Wow.
a pretty blunt way to put it, quite frankly. But I mean, I think that's the feeling of a lot of folks. Like you said, it's common knowledge that, the Democrats don't want to lose congressional seats. Maybe they want to flip some. And, there's polling to indicate that congestion pricing isn't popular.
Uh,
But there's a lot of fallout and repercussions from that choice now.
You know what people in the Bronx were concerned about. Let's talk about if congestion pricing were to happen. Is that people from excuse me, people from Westchester or in other places would drive and find places to park. Let's say up in Woodlawn, maybe open up some parking lots and things like that, and they would park their cars and then jump on the train. But even maybe more likely is that they would park in the South Bronx. And as you reported, the pause mitigation plans included $20 million for a new asthma program and treatment center in the Bronx. We'll take that anyway, congestion pricing or not. But that's, again, another side problem here because now that's not coming.
Yeah, that's right. They had these mitigation funds and, essentially it totaled $155 million. Not all of that would go to the Bronx, but like you were saying, $20 million for an asthma center, another 10 or 15 million for schools and planting roadside vegetation, just sort of help with the existing health issues. And like you said, I think the Bronx could probably use it anyways. But those are just some of the things they were going to do to help alleviate the ongoing problems in the Bronx. New Jersey complained about, well, why is the Bronx getting all this stuff? But it's the Bronx, lawmakers, leaders, advocates were very active throughout the congestion pricing process to make sure that they were going to get something to offset even a minor increase in truck traffic, because it's already too much truck traffic in the Bronx. The asthma is already
Certainly.
some of the worst in the city, the country, so those are other things that are now
I,
lost without congestion
I,
pricing.
I want to give you the credit. I pulled it right out of your story. They would have, the tolls would have funded a medley of programs in parts of New York City and New Jersey, $10 million for air filtration system at schools located near highways, $25 million to renovate parks and green spaces in environmental justice communities, $10 million to plant 4,000 trees and 40,000 shrubs near polluted roadways. I mean, it you know, and then on the other side of the coin, there were many people, and I'm not even playing political parties here, who were like, well, wait a minute, this thing, $15 was a lot of money. Maybe, had they started with a lower amount and then raised it over time, maybe they would have had more people support the concept to begin with. And rather than negotiate those things or work with those things, just cut it. Now, here's my question: Is okay? Let's just take it at face value that this was done because of the politics. Okay, let's just say. But now, after November, could or couldn't the governor just say, "Okay, unabashedly, yes, we did it for the politics. The election is over. Now we can just put it back in place." So it really is only a 5 or 6 month, delay.
It, I
Or
mean,
am
it,
I being Pollyanna here?
I mean, it's after what happened the other a few weeks ago where the governor pulled the rug out. At this point, I feel like be ready to be surprised. There
Oh,
could
that's fair.
be surprises, but like you said, it really is politics. And what does that mean? The governor has her own reelection. So if congestion pricing remains unpopular, maybe she would make the choice to continue to pause it until after after that election, to see how things play out. On the other
Wow.
hand, maybe it would be politically beneficial for her to turn on congestion pricing and see how it goes. So, I guess it could cut both ways, right?
It seems to me, with number one, with all the issues that it's created by not having congestion pricing, that she's cut that you can't just throw it in the garbage. You mentioned 4 years. There have been experts been working on this for a very long time. I mean, even traveling to London and what's the other, Stockholm is the other city,
Yeah.
that have done very well with congestion pricing, right?
Yeah. And Stockholm is like the most fascinating example because they did something that maybe even New York could have tried. They did a trial run of congestion pricing for about half a year just
Oh,
to see how it goes. And they said, okay, we're going to turn off the tolls now, let traffic return to its previous levels, and then let the people vote on which system they like better, with tolls or without tolls. And before it launched, maybe half the public, more than half, 2/3 were against it. After they saw the decrease in traffic, they put it to a vote. It won by, more than half of the voters chose it. A year later, once congestion really decreased in their downtown, 3/4 of Stockholm residents supported the program. So I
I,
think once they see the benefits, that really
yeah.
changes people's minds.
I think that one of the things that both cities, London and Stockholm, can show and could lead the way for New York is they also simultaneously really improved their mass transit systems. Wouldn't it be nice? Now, I know that New Yorkers have to take the buses and subways, and MTA is working very hard. But wouldn't it be nice if they really made significant changes to those systems to coincide with congestion pricing? I'll bet that you'd get many New Yorkers and say, wow, the train doesn't stop get stuck as much. It may be a little less crowded. I mean, there could be any number of fixes that they had done. $15 billion was a lot of money.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And London really is so different than New York in that they put thousands of new buses on the streets before congestion pricing went into effect. So people really did have a different way, a better way, a faster way to get into their downtown area. And that was actually one of the biggest complaints from John Samuelson. He was on the board that helped set the tolls, and he resigned at the last hour very much because of that, because the MTA wasn't offering people in the outer boroughs, parts of Queens, where the train service really isn't that great and it really does take a long time. He wanted more express buses to get to downtown. And the MTA said they just didn't believe, even with congestion pricing, that the ridership warranted that. They argued that there's still plenty of room on the trains because that's still, 20%, maybe 15% lower than before the pandemic. So they sort of pushed back against that.
I don't buy that. I think that if you put buses in place and gave people systems that really worked, people would, especially New Yorkers, would say, "Okay, I'm going to do it this way." So now there were legal challenges, which you wrote about, they trying to stop the pause, but those didn't go through. Those didn't work.
Well, we were waiting for Comptroller Brad Lander to file those.
Right.
Got a host of advocates there. I think they're sort of waiting to see what happens on Wednesday with the MTA board. Maybe I shouldn't say that because this show will air.
You just revealed something. Well, it's going to, Wednesday. We're recording this, folks, on Tuesday, the 25th. So You're saying Wednesday, even tomorrow.
Right. So Wednesday, the full MTA board is going to meet for the first time since Governor Hochul put a pause on the plan. They're not expected to necessarily vote on anything, but even Monday, the board is discussing which programs to cut, what the impact of that's going to be, because now they have to really rejigger all their plans for construction as well as their operating side, the revenue, because they were expecting a slight increase in transit riders with congestion pricing. Now that's not going to happen. So all their plans are sort of in flux at the moment, and they're sort of trying to settle their very delicate books, which they had balanced thanks to some more money last year from Governor Hochul. And now things are a little iffier.
And the Second Avenue subway, I mean, again, if New York believes that the Second Avenue subway needed to be completed and would be a big boon to transportation, now that is on hold. That's a big, certainly just looking at the transit system, that's a big thing. Steve, we're going to have to go. We can't thank you enough because you've made it clear of what's going on. And I know what's going to happen. I'm going to knock on your door again and say, well, now what do we do? We'll love to have you again.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Nessen covering transportation for Gothamist and WNYC. We'll take a short break. And then when we come back, yes, as I said, we've got a beautiful Latin photo festival that we're going to show you and tell you all about. Don't go away.
.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city, and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak, and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. We thank Steve Nessen for joining us and telling us all about that crazy congestion pricing problem. And right now, though, let's do something a lot more pleasant and say good evening to a couple of friends. One is Michael Kamber, who's the creative director and founder of the Bronx Documentary Center. Nice to see you, Michael. And also Cynthia Rivera right next to him, who is the exhibitions manager over there at the BDC. We are going to talk in a moment about the Latin American Photo Festival, FOTO. How clever. The photo festival that those folks are involved in. Both are co-curators of that. But Michael, let's just, we haven't had you on in a while. Let's just talk about the BDC. You personally and as an organization have been really committed to the notion of the visual arts and documenting the lives we lead. Talk a little bit about your commitment and what kind of programs you've put into place.
Well, we started in 2011, and we do a lot of documentary photography, of course, but we also do a lot of filmmaking. So, those are our two main areas. We started out doing just exhibitions, and then we've moved into education. And right now, our real focus is education. So we've got 5 classes for high schoolers and middle schoolers. And then we've got constant tours for schools all over the Bronx that come here. So we're doing a lot of education. We're also doing adult education. We've got a number of photo classes and filmmaking classes for adults. And then we have a senior program that works in different senior centers around the Bronx. One of those openings is actually today up in Highbridge. So we're kind of doing education on all levels. We've got one of the biggest dark rooms, still in existence, I think in the United States. We've got we probably have the biggest photo library in the United States. We're also doing our exhibitions. We're doing some public programs.
Let me just ask you about the germ of the idea that you talked about 2011. So we're, 13 years in the making. Did you envision all of this stuff at that, like now you're building on it, or is it really more an organic development? You say, well, we've done this. Now I've got an idea. Let's do this.
We always wanted to do education, even in the beginning. That was the plan. We just didn't have the money in the beginning and the resources, but so slowly we built up to it. Of course, we also, we're listening to the community every day. So
every day,
they're coming in and asking for different things. So we've shifted course to serve the community.
We use the word represent. You represent the community as well. And I should mention, for people who don't know, it's at 614 Cortlandt Avenue, right there, right. A block away from the hub, so you can easily find it. There's no mistaking where it is. So let's just bring Cynthia in. The Latin American Photo Festival. This is rather incredible as far as I can tell. And we're going to show some pictures in a moment, but just tell us what the festival is all about.
So this is our 7th year, actually, which is a pretty exciting year. But for the Latin American Photo Festival, we bring work outdoors to the people. It's what we kind of always thought about in terms of you always have photographs in an actual gallery space. So how do you bring the work to the people on the street? Because we always have, families and people working, and they're always outdoors. And we wanted to bring their stories because this area is predominantly Latin American. So we wanted to bring the stories to the people from the countries where they're from.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to list the places, and then I have a technical question to ask you. So aside from the BDC and the BDC Annex, and I'm going to ask Michael about that in a moment, there's the 151st Street Community Garden, the Immaculate Conception School. There's the education he was talking about. Let's see, there's a school at East 150th and Melrose. There's also 378 East 151st Street. And then at the Melrose Playground parking lot at 616 Cortlandt Avenue, right near the BDC. Cynthia, just talk to me about the technical thing of putting them outdoors. I mean, it's not going to snow, but it does rain. Yeah. And then what do? You posterize them? I mean, what do you do to get them up?
Actually, they're printed on vinyl. So it's kind of like it's a weather resistant material. So the banners that go along the fences and all outdoors are put up with zip ties. And the ones in the garden are actually put up with poles that we put together kind of like as a frame. And then the banners are put stuck onto them, and then they're dug into the ground. And there's actually also wheat pasting that was done at Tonitas, which is one of the expansion spaces. And that's pretty weather resistant.
So you really have had a lot of work to do, Michael.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you about the annex. Now, when I went to I went to the Joe Conzo exhibition that you had a little while back. I just went to the BDC. I didn't realize there was an annex. Tell us about the annex and where it's at, and then I want to just show some pictures to inspire people to go out and see these things.
Yeah, the annex is it's 100 feet down the street across, it's kind of catty corner. It's really tripled our space. We got it kind of during COVID. It took us a couple of years to get going, but now we've got a huge gallery, 2,000 square feet. And we've got labs and dark rooms and classrooms. It's really just helped us so much. And it's, you can see it right from our old location. It's just a short walk.
It almost brings tears to my eyes because it's all so brilliant. It's all so important to our culture in the Bronx of what you're doing. I want the Netflix documentary on the Bronx Documentary Center. I want to see, because this is just a wonderful story of life, of beauty, right in the center of a very busy urban space. All right, let's show some photos. Our producer Anderson has selected them. Cynthia doesn't know what we're showing, so let's do it. Let's just roll them right through. I think we got about 7. She didn't pick them. Look at this.
Oh, it's a Cuba.
That's
from
Cuba.
That's Cuba.
Yeah, that photo is by Lysandra Alvarez. She's a Cuban photographer.
Look at that. You imagine? All right, listen, my problem is I like to gaze at them and stare at them. So then people, by the way, the photo festival in all these locations I mentioned is July 11th to the 28th. Let's go, Anderson. Let's let them rip. This one, look at this. Oh, my goodness.
That is in Peru. That is a project on ballet, a ballet school, actually, that's open and it's free. It's kind of like how we do our program here. This person wanted to bring ballet to the people because it's such an expensive dance, really. The photographer is Magda Gibelli.
Wow. How many photographers are represented in this festival?
We have 10 photographers and then one youth organization called Foto Kids. It's based in Guatemala. And then we have an archival project. And
are some of the photographers also from our hometown, the BX?
No, they're
all from Latin America.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. All right.
We have done several recent Bronx shows.
I'm well aware. I mean, we can't get them all in here, but for this festival, but really that it is beautiful because people will see their own homes and their own cultures.
Exactly.
Okay, let's go. Keep going. I want to see all these pictures. Look at this. This is so crazy. Listen, by the way, subway surfing, that's not funny. But this is funny.
This is not subway surfing. This is a project by Alejandro Segarra. This photo is in Mexico. They're on a train. It's about all of the migrants that ride the train throughout. They're all throughout Latin America.
And look again, the genius of the photographer to catch that moment.
Yeah, and I think this won a World Press Photo Award. One of the
really
biggest awards in the world for that series.
Now, just think about it. With the train, I like to think from the photographer's point of view. With the train going by, he's got to be patient enough, and then you got to be in the right place at the right time to get it right at the moment that the guy was crossing. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, we'll be showing.
I'm in love.
We'll have the whole series here when on view, not just that one photo, but we'll be showing them all.
Yeah, we'll be able. People will see all of them. All right, keep going.
That photo is also from Cuba by the same photographer, Lysandra Alvarez.
Mm-hmm. And Lysandra will be coming in the near future to do a free workshop here. We're working on the visa now, so
people should. The best way to find out about all the events is through the BDC's website.
Yeah.
Right? That's because I'm sure you put everything up there, and people in the Bronx should if you're not tuned into it, you should be tuned into it because this is who we are. This is our culture. I mean, this is why they exist. I'm sorry. Keep going. I want more pictures. At a boat, I guess.
Yeah, this photo is from Brazil, from the Amazon by Lalo de Almeida.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is my first. At the moment, you're witnessing my first trip to the Amazon. All right. Yeah. Look at that. Wow.
And that's a great body of work, really incredible body of work. So we'll be having, 20 or 25 photos from that project on view here.
Michael, do you take pictures? Are you a photographer, or you just appreciate everybody else's? I don't know. That brought a laugh. I don't know why.
We need a few hours to
Yeah,
talk about it.
I was a photojournalist for about 25 years.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one day we'll have to have a Michael Kamber exhibit. Have you done that? He's too. Listen. I know the guy. He's too humble. I know. He don't want. He just don't go there. All right.
I start in the Bronx.
All right. That's fair. Let's see some more. Anderson. We almost. This one. I saw this one earlier. Look at this. This is so crazy.
Yeah, this is a project from Mexico on basketball, specifically a small town in Oaxaca. It's by Jorge Santiago.
Wow. Cynthia, how did you get in touch with all these photographers, or did you reach out, or do you do your research, that kind of thing?
Yeah, typically it's both, but in the beginning I do a huge kind of outreach to all of our past alumni photographers from the festivals. And then initially we reached out in our very first year, we reached out to editors and photographers that we knew in Latin America and kind of have people think about who they want to promote and who they think should be applying to the festival, and looking through all of their projects and kind of from there.
And Anderson, I lost count. Do we have any more? Oh yeah, we do. Well, look at this.
Projects, yeah.
Are these migrants? People just traveling?
It's also from the same Brazil project.
From the Amazon. And these are actually, indigenous Amazonians who are traveling to try to get protections from the state capitol for their lands, which are being burned and overtaken. So they're actually on their way.
What I love about those photos is the people were not particularly well dressed for travel, so to speak, and yet they had regular, like bought at Target suitcases, Anyway, all right, so we're just about out of time. So it's July 11th through July 28th at the BDC. The BDC Annex, the 151st Street Community Garden, the two Immaculate Conception Schools, one at East 150th Street, one at East 151st, and the Melrose Playground parking lot. Anything else you just want to tell people? I mean, I'm assuming is it free to go in and
Yeah.
Of course, the one's outdoors.
Yeah, all of our events and programs are free and open to the public, but also for this year, we've expanded to 4 other locations. So we'll be in Queens and Jackson Heights at Terraza Siete, at La Sala de Pepe on the Lower East Side, at Lower East Side Center, Piragua Art Space, and Tonitas in Brooklyn.
Just wonderful. Thank you so much for doing what you do. Keep doing it. Keep letting us know, because we want to bring you back. We want to celebrate the artists and the writers and all the people that you work with. Michael, I love you, man. We need you.
Thank you, Gary.
Cynthia, I kind of love you too, although we just
One day.
Anyway, so that'll do it, folks, for the Bronx Buzz for this evening. And you know what we say: if the curtain don't fall and the creek don't rise, I will be back next week. Good night.